best friend seduced my fiance and had his baby, then showed up at my apartment, blackmailing me into not exposing them. So I didn't expose them. I did something so much worse instead. My best friend Madison has been my ride or die since 7th grade, and I was so happy when she stood to give a toast at my engagement party. But something felt off about the way she kept glancing at my fiance Alex, all the while talking about how I always needed someone to take care of me. When she excused herself to the bathroom, she left her phone on the table, and that's when my whole world imploded. A text popped up from Alex saying, "Stop texting me, tonight isn't about us." I'd known Madison's password for years, but my hand started trembling as I unlocked it to review their messages. That's when I saw that they talked nearly every day and spoke about when they would next see one another, how they missed being in each other's arms, and how I was nothing compared to the love they had. I grabbed my phone and started taking pictures of everything I could before she came back. Later, after everyone left, I confronted Alex with the photos and watched his face crumble. He admitted they'd been texting, but swore nothing physical happened. 2 years ago, my mom got sick and I dropped everything to care for her. I started spending every night at the hospital. He said he thought I was going to break up with him back then. Said Madison was there for him when I abandoned them both. The way he said abandoned made my stomach turn, because my mother was literally dying of cancer, and apparently that made me a bad girlfriend. I asked him to leave and let me sleep on everything. Only later that night I couldn't sleep. So at 3 in the morning, I went through every photo on social media going back years. That's when I finally noticed it. Madison had posted pictures with my high school boyfriend Caleb months after we broke up. The timestamps showed it was during the summer. She claimed she was too busy with her internship to hang out. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely flip through my old diary where I'd written about how Caleb suddenly got confused about his feelings for me. My mom showed up at 10 a.m. for our breakfast date and found me surrounded by printed screenshots and notebook pages. I told her everything. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug before dropping her own bomb. She'd seen Madison kissing Caleb at the mall years ago, but didn't tell me because she thought she must have misunderstood. She said Madison always asked detailed questions about my relationships and would stop by the house when she knew I wasn't home, claiming she was waiting for me. I met our mutual friend Sarah for coffee, and she couldn't even look me in the eye after I told her what Madison did. Her hands kept stirring her drink over and over. She finally admitted everyone knew Madison had feelings for Alex. She showed me texts where Madison would ask her to invite Alex to things when she knew I couldn't make it. Sarah said they didn't know how to tell me because I loved Madison so much, and they thought maybe they were reading too much into it. The betrayal kept spreading like poison through every memory I had. I spent the next day creating a timeline on my laptop, and the pattern was so obvious I wanted to throw up. Madison had gotten close to every single boyfriend right before they broke up with me. She was the one who told me I was being too clingy with my college boyfriend Ben, right before he ended things. Sarah finally admitted Madison had dated at least 2 of my exes after we broke up. Then somehow, everything got 10 times worse. That night, Madison showed up at my apartment with mascara running down her face and her hand pressed against her stomach. She said she was pregnant with Alex's baby. Said it only happened once when I was really stressed about the wedding and argued with Alex, but I didn't believe her. She begged me not to ruin 3 lives over one mistake. I pretended to consider forgiving her and suggested we talk it through, all the while secretly recording on my phone. The more she talked, the more truth spilled out. She said I got everything so easily, and guys always chose me first. She admitted to telling my first boyfriend I was seeing someone else. She even manipulated my exes and turned them against me. She wasn't in love with them. She was in love with my life and wanted to take it piece by piece. The next day, Alex showed up with his parents trying to salvage our relationship. His mother kept saying I was overreacting due to wedding stress. Then Madison arrived uninvited with her hand strategically placed on her stomach playing the victim. When I played the recording for everyone, Alex's mother's face went white hearing that her son had been lying for 2 years. Alex didn't even look at me. He turned to Madison and demanded a paternity test. That's when she revealed her final card. She'd been documenting my mental health struggles for years. Every time I'd vented about work stress or cried about my mom's cancer, she'd saved the texts and twisted them into evidence that I was unstable. She said she'd send it all to my workplace if I didn't forgive her and move forward. Said my reaction right now proved I was vindictive and unstable. Alex looked between us, and I saw doubt creep into his eyes. I was standing in my apartment completely alone, while the 2 people I'd trusted most walked out together. Madison smirked with her hand on her stomach and said, "Think carefully, Jenna. You have everything to lose." I thought I'd lost everything that night, but then 3 days later, the paternity test results arrived in Alex's email, the one I was still logged into. My hand shook as I clicked on the email notification. The lab results loaded slowly, each second stretching like an eternity. My eyes scanned the document frantically until I found the line that made my heart stop. The test was negative. Madison wasn't carrying Alex's child, but attached was a second document that made everything worse. Madison was pregnant, just not with Alex's baby. The lab technician had included a note about an unusual request for a comparative sample against someone named Marcus. My phone buzzed immediately. Madison's name flashed on the screen. She knew I was in the email. She'd been watching my activity this whole time. I let it ring, taking screenshots of everything with my other hand. The phone stopped, then started again. This time it was Sarah texting urgently about Madison being at her apartment crying, claiming I'd hacked Alex's email and threatening to call the police. Sarah's message contained Madison's exact phrasing about violation of privacy, which made my skin crawl. After everything, I didn't know if I could trust Sarah either, but I needed someone to know the truth. I sent her the screenshots and watched the typing indicator appear for 5 straight minutes without any message coming through. My phone exploded with notifications. Alex calling, demanding to know why I was stalking his email. Madison texting threats about cybercrime charges. Then a knock at my door at 4 a.m. that could only be my mother. I opened the door to find her standing there in her robe, holding 2 coffee mugs. One was Madison's favorite brand, the vanilla hazelnut she always kept at our house. My stomach dropped. Madison called me crying, Mom said, pushing past me into the apartment. She's been staying in our guest room since yesterday. She said you've been harassing her and Alex. The words hit me like physical blows. I tried to explain about the test results, pulling up the screenshots on my phone, but movement in the hallway caught my eye. Madison emerged wearing my old high school pajamas, the ones with little stars that I'd left at Mom's house years ago. Her hand cradled her belly protectively as tears streamed down her face. I feel so violated, Madison whispered, collapsing into my mother's arms. She's been stalking us, going through private emails. I'm scared for the baby. Mom looked between us, torn between the daughter she'd raised and the girl she'd treated like a second daughter for over a decade. While Madison sobbed dramatically, I noticed her phone sitting unlocked on the kitchen counter. A text conversation was visible with someone saved as just M, with a message about keeping their story straight. The timestamp showed it was sent 30 seconds ago, while Madison was supposedly crying too hard to function. Before I could grab the phone, car doors slammed outside. Through the window, I saw Alex getting out with his parents and a police officer. Madison had called them all. The officer took statements while Alex's mother fussed over Madison, shooting me looks of pure disgust. His father asked why I was so obsessed with destroying their family. Madison produced printed emails from 2 years ago when I'd vented to her about Alex during mom's cancer treatment. She'd saved every moment of weakness, every frustrated text, spinning them as evidence of my instability. She's been spiraling for years, Madison said softly, her voice perfectly calibrated for maximum sympathy. I've been so worried about her mental health. I even called her therapist because I was concerned about this breakdown. My blood ran cold. I tried calling my therapist's emergency line, but the service informed me that my doctor had already been notified of my crisis by a concerned friend. Madison had been 10 steps ahead this entire time. My phone buzzed with an email from work asking about my absence and mentioning someone had called about my mental health emergency. I realized I couldn't even go to work without facing questions Madison had planted. The police officer reviewed his notes and looked at me with something between pity and wariness. He explained that since Alex had never removed my email access, it technically wasn't hacking, but he warned me about harassment. Then he mentioned this was the second call about email access this month, which made no sense until I realized Madison had been building a paper trail. Desperate to make someone understand, I blurted out that Madison's baby wasn't Alex's. The room went silent. Alex lunged for Madison's phone to check the messages with M, but Madison collapsed dramatically, clutching her stomach. The stress, she gasped. The baby. I need the hospital. Alex's mother immediately switched to crisis mode, helping Madison to the car while shooting me a look of pure hatred. The worst part was watching my own mother grab her purse to go with them, choosing Madison over me without hesitation. As they left, Sarah finally texted back with 4 words that changed everything. I'm done keeping secrets. 20 minutes later, I sat across from Sarah at our usual coffee shop. She couldn't meet my eyes as she pulled out her phone and started showing me messages. Madison had been building her case for months, showing edited text to our friend group, recording conversations, creating a narrative where I was the unstable one who couldn't handle wedding stress. She showed us all these screenshots, Sarah said, scrolling through a group chat I'd never seen. Everyone thinks you're having a breakdown. She's been really convincing, Jenna. She cries and seems so genuine. My heart sank, reading messages from college friends I thought cared about me, all discussing my mental state and obsessive behavior. Madison had poisoned every relationship I had while I was too blind to see it. Who's M? I asked, remembering the text conversation. Sarah bit her lip. Check Madison's Instagram. She started following someone named Marcus about 3 months ago. He works at Alex's company. I found Marcus's profile easily. He'd liked photos from our engagement party, which meant he'd been there. The timeline made my stomach turn. 3 months ago was when Madison had started acting strange, right when she'd begun her final push to steal my life. My phone buzzed with a text from a mutual friend saying Madison was being admitted for observation due to pregnancy complications, with Alex by her side playing the devoted father. The lies just kept building. I drove to Alex's apartment with my key, knowing it would be my last time there. I needed my things, but more importantly, I needed answers. The place felt different, like it belonged to strangers. That's when I saw Madison's overnight bag in the bedroom. Inside the overnight bag, I found prenatal vitamins with a receipt dated 2 months before Madison claimed the conception happened. The credit card used belonged to Marcus Chen. My hands trembled as I photographed everything, knowing I was running out of time before someone noticed I was here. My phone lit up with a text from Madison. I know you're there. The cameras are recording. This will look like stalking. Cameras? I looked around the bedroom, spotting a small device I'd never noticed before. Had Alex installed them, or had Madison convinced him to? The realization that she might have footage of me here made my chest tighten. Everything could be edited to make me look unhinged. Mom called while I was still processing. Madison needs your insurance information for the hospital. The stress you're causing could hurt the baby. Can't you just forgive her? She keeps saying she wants to make things right. The way Mom repeated Madison's exact phrases made me realize how deep the manipulation went. I found my old diary in Madison's bag, yellow post-it notes marking pages where I'd written about feeling overwhelmed during Mom's cancer treatment. Madison had been collecting ammunition for years. I photographed everything, but the evidence felt useless. Anything I found could be dismissed as planted since I was alone in the apartment. Making a desperate decision, I called the number I'd found for Marcus Chen. Hi, this is a friend of Madison's, I said, mimicking her speech patterns from years of friendship. I'm worried about her and the baby's father. She's been so stressed lately. Marcus's voice was confused but concerned. Wait, what? Madison told me she was single. We've been together for 3 months. She said she was escaping some stalker ex-friend who was obsessed with her. The pieces clicked together. Madison had been playing both sides, creating parallel narratives where she was always the victim. I managed to get Marcus to leave a voicemail confirming their relationship before he grew suspicious and hung up. Sarah texted that Madison had just told everyone I'd broken into Alex's apartment and was spiraling like when her mom was sick. The speed of Madison's information network was terrifying. When I tried forwarding Marcus's voicemail to our friends, Madison's preemptive messages had already poisoned the well. They responded with sewer slide hotline numbers, convinced I was having a breakdown. Hospital visiting hours would end in an hour. I had to decide whether to confront Madison directly or keep gathering evidence. My phone buzzed with notifications as my 3 closest college friends blocked me on all social media platforms within minutes of each other. The coordinated shunning had Madison's fingerprints all over it. Another text from Madison. Check your work email. I opened it to find HR had scheduled a meeting about concerning reports from friends and family. The meeting was with Janet, the same HR representative Madison had befriended at every company party. Madison's message continued. Stop now and I'll tell them you're getting help. Keep going and I'll show them everything. I deleted the text, knowing Madison already had screenshots, and drove toward the hospital with Marcus's contact information burning in my pocket. The hospital parking lot was nearly empty. I asked the parking attendant if he'd seen Madison, describing her car. He looked confused. The pregnant lady? She left about an hour ago. Seemed pretty happy for someone having complications. Even laughed on her phone about something. My blood ran cold. I checked the hospital's patient portal on my phone. phone, using the login Madison had shared years ago for emergencies. There was no record of her being admitted. The entire hospital drama had been staged. Security footage would show the truth, but when I went inside to ask, I discovered Madison had never entered the emergency room. Instead, cameras caught her meeting with Alex's mother in the hospital cafe, both of them huddled over phones and papers. Everything from the last 24 hours had been choreographed. The police call timed for maximum drama. The hospital scare to make me look unstable for showing up. The coordinated social media blocking. Sarah's text confirmed my worst fears. Madison asked me to test your mental state. She said she was worried you might hurt yourself. I'm sorry. Mom texted asking me to come home because Madison was scared to be alone and needed somewhere safe to stay. She mentioned she was preparing my old room for Madison. The thought of Madison sleeping in my childhood bed while wearing my pajamas made me physically ill. I texted back that I was getting help and drove to Marcus's apartment instead. He needed to know the truth about the woman carrying his child. When he opened the door, his expression shifted from confusion to alarm at my appearance. I probably looked exactly how Madison had described. Unstable, obsessive, dangerous. Please, just give me 5 minutes, I begged. Check her social media from 3 months ago. Check when she started following you. As Marcus scrolled through Madison's carefully curated Instagram, his face paled. She'd been liking his posts and showing up at places he frequented weeks before they randomly met. I showed him the screenshots of the paternity test, the prenatal vitamin receipt, everything. She told me she was escaping an abusive situation, Marcus said slowly. Said her ex-friend was stalking her, that she'd had to change her whole life to get away. I created fake social media accounts that night, adopting Madison's own tactics to monitor my former friends. Using details from Madison's posts, I messaged Alex's mother from a fake profile claiming to be Marcus's concerned sister. The web of lies was so complex that even I struggled to keep track of who knew what. Alex's younger sister Emma reached out through a gaming platform we'd used years ago. I heard my parents talking with Madison about your lease. They're planning something. Emma revealed that Madison had convinced Alex's parents to co-sign a lease termination, claiming I'd abandoned the apartment. The date on the paperwork was before the engagement party even happened. They'd been planning this for months. With my housing threatened and my job in jeopardy, I realized I needed proof of Madison's pattern that went beyond just my word. I decided to confront her in the hospital parking lot where security cameras would record everything, but when I arrived, Madison was waiting with Alex's mother as her witness. I'm moving into your apartment with Alex, Madison announced calmly, her hand on her stomach, for the baby's safety. Your mother agrees it's best. Behind them, I could see Mom nodding supportively. Madison already had keys. My own mother had given her keys to my apartment. I held up my phone, making it obvious I was recording. The pregnancy timeline doesn't match Alex, I said clearly. You know it's Marcus's baby. Madison smiled, that same smirk from the night she'd walked out with Alex. Recording without consent is illegal in this state, but please, keep giving me evidence of your harassment. She pulled out her phone and showed me a message thread with my ex-boyfriends. Caleb and Ben are both willing to testify about your unstable behavior in past relationships. It's sad how you've always been jealous of my friendships with them. The truth hit me like a physical blow. She hadn't dated them because she wanted them. She'd dated them to gather ammunition for this exact moment. Every relationship, every interaction had been a long game to destroy me when the time came. I posted the recording online anyway, tagging everyone involved. Within hours, my remaining friends called me unhinged for recording without consent. Legal threats arrived from Madison's cousin, who happened to be a paralegal. Even my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chen, got dragged in when Madison claimed I'd been harassing her in the hallways. Madison posted crying selfies with survivor support hashtags, gaining sympathy from extended family who didn't know the full story. My cousin texted asking if I was okay, and mentioned Madison had reached out concerned about my spiral. She suggested the same treatment center Madison had recommended. I spent the next 48 hours creating a detailed timeline website exposing everything. I knew it would make me look obsessed, but I had no other choice. While organizing photos, I found one from college where Madison was wearing my missing necklace, the one I'd accused Ben of losing. She'd kept trophies from each relationship she'd destroyed. HR moved up our meeting after Madison sent them the website as evidence of harassment. The meeting time conflicted with a lease termination deadline. I had to choose between saving my job or my apartment. Through Emma, I learned the full scope of Madison's plan. She didn't just want Alex or my apartment. She wanted my entire life, my job. She'd already applied for a position in my department, my family, my entire identity. She was systematically replacing me in everyone's lives. I chose to skip HR and go to the apartment, but the locks had already been changed. Through the window, I could see Madison hanging her clothes in my closet while wearing my grandmother's earrings. Something inside me snapped. Using the maintenance key I'd secretly copied months ago, I entered to document Madison in my space. I found my birth certificate in her files, along with practice signatures of my name. She was planning to become me in every way possible. Madison arrived with Alex, immediately calling the police for trespassing. She'd anticipated this exact scenario, probably planned for it. As sirens approached, I saw Marcus's name pop up on Madison's phone. The game was far from over. The officer who arrested me was the same one from the email incident. He looked tired as he explained my rights, probably wondering how a friendship could go this wrong. In holding, I met a woman named Amy, who mentioned her ex-best friend had gone crazy last year. The story sounded eerily familiar. Pregnancy claims, stolen boyfriends, systematic isolation. Mrs. Chen posted my bail, bless her heart. But when I got out, I discovered I'd been terminated from work for abandonment and creating a hostile environment. Madison had already interviewed for my position, using my own portfolio pieces she'd helped me create over the years. Using Madison's playbook, I befriended Marcus's sister online, slowly revealing the truth about Madison's deception. His sister was disturbed by the pregnancy timeline and mentioned Madison had been asking about Marcus's inheritance from his grandmother. Together, we discovered Madison had done this before. In college, she'd pursued her roommate Claire's boyfriend, though that attempt had failed when Claire transferred schools to escape Madison's escalating behavior. I tracked down Claire, who was now living across town. I kept documentation, Claire said, showing me old files, but I was too scared to use it. She's very good at making you look crazy while she stays calm and collected. Claire's files showed Madison's pattern dating back 8 years, including forged recommendation letters and falsified transcripts. But using this evidence meant dragging Claire back into Madison's orbit, something she'd specifically asked to avoid. I went to Mom's house to collect some belongings and found Madison had redecorated my childhood room. My baby pictures had been replaced with photos of Madison's life. My trophies were gone, replaced with her achievements. It was like I'd been erased from my own history. I took photos of everything, knowing I was violating the restraining order Madison had just filed, but I couldn't stop documenting the erasure of my existence. Madison arrived with Mom, who immediately called the police for the violation. I'm trying to help her, Madison said, tears streaming as she comforted my crying mother, but she just won't get the help she needs. Every piece of evidence I'd gathered became meaningless against the restraining order violation. My arrest made the local news blog with the headline, "Local woman arrested for stalking former friend." Any chance of employment in town was destroyed. Marcus finally learned the truth and confronted Madison at a prenatal appointment. From across the street, I watched him demand a paternity test while Madison played the victim to perfection. She agreed to the test, but only at a specific lab where, I later learned, her cousin worked as a technician. Both of us were destroyed now. I was jobless and criminalized while Madison's web of lies was finally unraveling, but she had one more card to play. She texted me directly, violating her own restraining order. "If anyone else learns the truth, I'll hurt myself and blame you. You know everyone will believe me." A rainstorm that week flooded the basement storage unit where Madison had hidden my stolen belongings. She was forced to move them, and the neighbor's security camera caught her with boxes of my things. Both of us scrambled to control the narrative. Emma forwarded me an email showing Madison applying for jobs in another state using my work history and references. She'd been practicing my signature and had even contacted my professional references pretending to be me. The former roommate Claire finally agreed to speak up after seeing the destruction Madison had caused. She revealed Madison's history of identity theft and obsession, showing forged documents and falsified records. But everyone involved was so tangled in the web of lies that blame scattered in all directions. Alex realized he'd been manipulated but blamed me for pushing Madison to desperate measures. Marcus felt betrayed, but wondered if I was just as unstable as Madison claimed. Both families were destroyed by the revelation that Madison had been playing everyone. I faced a choice: pursue criminal charges that would drag everyone through mud, or accept a deal where Madison would leave town if I dropped everything. The prosecutor, overwhelmed by the complexity and the he said, she said nature of the case, recommended the deal. I chose to file charges anyway, using Claire's evidence and Emma's testimony. Madison's cousin at the lab had already warned her, giving her time to prepare her retaliation. She posted my therapy session recordings online before fleeing to stay with relatives out of state. My reputation was destroyed. Madison was exposed but escaped real consequences. The community divided between those who believed me and those who thought we were both crazy women who deserved each other. Local Facebook groups debated whose fault it really was, with most concluding we'd destroyed each other over petty jealousy. The final blow came when Marcus's paternity test results arrived. Madison had lied about that too. The baby wasn't his. She'd simply chosen him as the most convenient father figure for her story, someone with resources who worked at Alex's company. The real father was someone she'd met at a conference, someone who didn't even know she was pregnant. 6 months later, I was rebuilding my life in a new city, working at a coffee shop while trying to repair my professional reputation. Madison had started over too, finding new friends in her new town. Emma kept me updated through fake social media accounts. The last message showed Madison at a baby shower, surrounded by new friends, wearing a necklace that looked suspiciously like one her new best friend had posted about losing. The cycle was starting again. My mother still sent Madison birthday cards, unable to fully let go of the girl she'd loved like a daughter. Neither of us won. Neither of us lost.